She started touching his face and noticing all of the wrinkles. And she looked at him and said, "Grandpa, did God make you?" He said, "Oh yes, He made me." Hello, dear friends. I have a story for you today which I read many years ago, and it stayed with me because it expresses something worth considering. It is the simple story of a small little girl that found so much delight in the lap of her elderly grandfather. As soon as she came to him face to face, she started touching his face and noticing all of the wrinkles, looking with great precision at what those signified. Suddenly a question came to mind, and she looked at him and said, "Grandpa, did God make you?" He said, "Oh yes, He made me." And then she paused for a moment and asked a second question, "Did God make me?" He said, "Yes." Perhaps on the basis of her examination of his face and knowing how new and fresh and beautiful her own child face was, she asked, "Grandpa, don't you think that God is making a better product these days?" And of course we laugh at that, but all of us are products of the same Creator. Some, of course, by advancing in years, will not have the same face that they had as a child or as a youth, even as a growing citizen. And yet, that does not depreciate one in any way, because the primary characteristic is that God infused in us so much of His own self. As the Bible declares, we were made in His image and likeness. That doesn't mean that we have features that He does not necessarily possess. He doesn't have a body except in His Son Jesus, who incarnated to become one of us, to suffer our own sufferings, and eventually to pay for the debts that we owe a holy God. There's a sense in which I can say that people do not depreciate. And that phrase can be taken in some ways by a few people with extra care, and that's important. What I mean by that is that we are important to God. He made us, and in spite of the entrance of sin to affect us adversely, sin has never removed from us that divine image and likeness. It simply marred that image, but the image remains even in our sinful estate. And of course, the greatest possible premium that God has placed on us, human beings, was when He sent His only begotten Son, Jesus, to take our place, to suffer for us, and eventually to give His lifeblood, so that we may have life everlasting with Him, to the extent that we put our complete trust and recognize His sacrifice in our stead. So we are important to God, and we need to maintain good communion with Him, to retain that which is so unique in each of us as His human creatures. And that is not as much in the physical features. It is not to be noticed or discarded on account of all of the facial expressions, all of the wrinkles that old age brings to many, not even the beauty that many may retain for a long time, but on the fact that God Himself abides in us that Christ resides in our being and causes the internal beauty that hopefully we possess to be externally manifested for the benefit of those with whom we interact. Indeed, people don't depreciate to the extent that they remain and live fully connected with the Creator who loves us with an everlasting love. Until the next time, my best wishes to all of you viewers. Bye-bye.